Welcome back to the perfect all-around rifle cartridge series. I have started out with basically all centerfire rifle cartridges and whittled them down to 5 finalists. Those 5 finalists is the 7mm Odd 8, the 308 Winchester, the 6mm Creedmoor, the 6.5mm Creedmoor, and the 6.5 284 Norma. I showed you these 2 bullets because I own them. Had success with those too. I don't own either of the Creedmoors or the 7mm Odd 8. Now, there's been so many great cartridges that I've taken off of this list that could have made the list. But like I've talked about in previous videos, I have a scale that basically is 50% efficiency, 25% hunting, and 25% long-range potential. Specifically, what I'm looking for in the hunting realm is something I can hunt anything from coyote to elk with, and mainly whitetail deer. Now, any of these rounds can hunt whitetail deer very effectively, but I do want something that won't be overkill or extreme overkill on a coyote, but will be able to do the job on an elk. So I've narrowed it down to these 5, with an honorable mention to the 260 Remington, which honestly is just as good as all these. I just did want to have 3 6.5s on my final list. So it got the boot, but it's very deserving as well. So I'm going to try to keep this video pretty short. Like I talked about before, I'm actually going to have a winner. I'm not just going to do this and then tell you to get whatever fits you or whatever fits your applications. That's a boring answer. So I'm going to actually give you a winner. Okay? And like I said, I don't own 3 of these cartridges, so I have no personal experience with them. This is basically just looking at numbers and testimonials from people who do own them, okay? And my own experience with the ones that I have. So I decided to just rank them from 1 to 10 on all 3 categories: hunting, efficiency, and long range. And whatever the ranking is on efficiency, they get double points because of my scale as it is being 50% efficiency. So I'm just going to go over these numbers with you and tell you the results, and then we'll move on from there. So hunting, I have the 308 a 7 out of 10, which is a very good score. Just to give you some reference, like a 270 or a 7 mag would be probably closer to 10 out of 10. But a 308 would be a 7. I have the 7mm Odd 8 also a 7. I have the 6mm Creedmoor a 5. I have the 6.5mm Creedmoor a 6. And I have the 6.5 284 a 7. Where did I get those numbers? Obviously, they're very subjective to me. So I'm thinking about how effective they'd be on coyotes, whitetail deer, elk, mule deer, possibly in longer ranges out west. And overall, that's what I ranked them. So just to give you a couple examples, the best out of these for coyote would probably be the 6mm Creedmoor. It'd be the most natural. That lighter bullet would be really what you would need. But you get up toward the elk, and it's probably not ideal. Could it do it? Of course. In shorter ranges, all things equal, up to 200 yards, trajectory is not that big of a deal. It's really more about energy, and the 308 is going to win. So, on an elk, for instance, up close, the 308's got it whooped. At longer ranges, the 308's going to start dying pretty quickly. So on a mule deer at 300 or 400 yards, the 308's probably the worst. And the 7mm Odd 8 and the 6.5s would be the best. Overall, I feel like for the hunting that I would probably do, the 308, the 7mm odd 8, and the 6.5 284 would be the best. Okay. The 6.5 Creedmoor could kill anything on here, of course. Why do I have the 6.5 284 ranked higher than the Creedmoor? Mainly because it's the same bullet, and it's just basically, it's just as accurate at long ranges. It's got the same sectional density, the same ballistic coefficient. It just has more energy and more velocity. It's just going to be better in every way. Okay. So it's a three-way tie. But if I had to give a winner, it would be a 7mm odd 8, just for overall versatility in hunting. It's not that it's better than the 308 or the 6.5 284, but I just feel like it gives the overall most balanced hunting round for what I need. You know, it's got just a little bit heavier bullet potential for an elk. It does have a little bit more energy than the 6.5 Creedmoor. It just overall, I'm going to give it to the 7mm odd 8 in the hunting category. But as far as points go, it's the same with the 308 and the 6.5 284. Let's go to long range. I picked the 308. I gave it a 6 out of 10 on long range. The 7mm odd 8, I gave it a 9. The 6mm Creedmoor, I gave an 8. The 6.5 Creedmoor, I gave a 9. And the 6.5 284, I gave a 10. Why did I give the 284 a 10 and the Creedmoor a 9? They're very similar. They're obviously both very good at long range. Really, because I know that for years, the 6.5 284 literally had the world record at 1,000 yards. So it's proven itself. The Creedmoor maybe is going to get to that point one of these days as well. It's already proven itself as a great long-range caliber. But if I had to give one the edge, it would be the 6.5 284. 6mm is very new, but it's also coming on the scene for 1,000 yards. The 308 and the 7mm odd 8 could both do the job at 1,000 yards, okay? And if you're just hitting paper, you know, it's definitely going to do the job. The 308 specifically at long ranges really dies quickly. It really loses a lot of what it has at long ranges. Now, for target shooting, that doesn't matter because all you're looking for is consistency. But the other ones just have a better ballistic coefficient bullet. The 30 caliber bullet is just not as efficient at 1,000 yards. It's not going to retain its energy and velocity as well as the more efficient bullet designs. So now, if you know where your 308 shoots and it's very consistent, it can be great. That's why I still gave it a 6 out of 10. Now, on efficiency, I gave the 308 a 9 out of 10. I gave the 7mm odd 8 a 9 out of 10. I gave the 6mm an 8 out of 10. I gave the 6.5 Creedmoor an 8 out of 10. And I gave the 6.5 284 a 7 out of 10. The only reason I gave the 6.5 284 the least amount of efficiency is mainly because it's a barrel burner. It could be slightly overboard design. It's still a very efficient cartridge. It was literally, the case was literally designed to be a more efficient version of the 270. And then it was neck down. So it is an efficient design, very efficient. But of these, it's the least efficient. Okay, the 308 is just naturally an awesome, efficient case. The 7mm has the same case. And the Creedmoor rounds are very efficient as well. Okay, I'm going to give a slight edge to the 308 caliber when it comes to efficiency over the Creedmoor cases. You very well might disagree with that, and it's so close. Honestly, it's a toss-up, but I'm just going to give a slight edge to the 308 case. Now, both of the 308 and the 7mm odd 8 get a 9 out of 10 on efficiency. Now, you double the efficiency numbers, and you add all that together, here's what it came out as. The 308 gets 31 points. The 7mm odd 8 gets 32 points. The 6mm Creedmoor gets 28 points. The 6.5 Creedmoor gets 31 points, and the 6.5 284 gets 31 points. Even though the 7mm Odd 8 has the most points there, to me it's like a four-way tie. It's like a dead heat. I am going to but take out the 6mm Creedmoor, despite it being a really awesome round. It's going to drop out, which leaves the final four. Basically, you've got the 308, the 7mm Odd 8, the 6.5 Creedmoor, and the 6.5 284 as my final four best all-around centerfire, I can't talk today, rifle cartridges in existence, in my opinion, for my needs. So which ones wins? Well, let's go back to those three categories. In hunting-wise, like I said, on points I had a three-way tie. But just for overall versatility, for overall balance, I'm going to give it to the 7mm Odd 8, okay? Long range, the 6.5 284 was the winner, okay? It had 10 points. It was the only one that did. Efficiency, I had a two-way tie between the 308 and the 7mm Odd 8. So which one of those two is more efficient? Which one is going to win the efficiency category? I'm going to have to give it to the 7mm Odd 8 because it has a more efficient bullet. The case is the same, and it's the most efficient case, in my opinion, on this list. But the bullet, the 7mm bullet, has a higher ballistic coefficient than the 30 caliber bullet. So overall, it's going to win on efficiency. So in the points, it barely wins. In the three categories, it barely wins hunting and efficiency. And long range goes to the Creedmoor. I'm sorry, not the Creedmoor. 6.5 284. On these final four, it's just basically a dead heat. If you picked any one of these four, you're not going to go wrong. They're going to do the job. My personal favorite of these four is the 6.5 284. It's my personal favorite. But because of the barrel life issue and it not being as common and easy to find, and you really have to hand load it to get the optimum performance out of it. If you do buy the factory loads, it's so expensive. I'm looking for an efficient round overall. It does not win. The 308 is a phenomenal round, and if you picked it, if you looked at my finalists and you picked a 308, I would not argue with you. But it's not going to win. The Creedmoor is awesome, and it's such a cool new round. It doesn't quite make it. I'm going to make the winner the 7mm Odd 8. It's the most perfect all-around centerfire rifle cartridge in existence, in my opinion, for what I would use it for. It's not perfect, and if you read forums about hunting, you really have to get the right type of bullet for hunting, that type of stuff. But the 7mm Odd 8, which I don't own, I didn't pick my personal favorite, and I didn't even pick one I own. But it's the jack of all trades and master of none. It's never going to be the best at anything that it does, okay? But it's not bad at anything. It's so well balanced. It's got such an efficient case, such an efficient bullet. It's just right there, smack in the middle of so many potential things it can do, that if you could only have one centerfire rifle cartridge for the rest of your life, and you wanted to hunt the things I mentioned, and you wanted to be able to shoot 1,000 yards, not in competition, just for fun, but you also were looking for an extremely efficient, well-balanced round, I would have to give it to the 7mm Odd 8. It's ballistically is the twin of the 7x57 Mauser, which is one of the oldest rounds in existence, that has killed game, especially not so much in America, but all over the world for 100+ years. And the 7mm odd 8 is basically the ballistic equivalent of that, or at least very close, but in a shorter, more efficient package. So that is my winner. All 5 of these last 5, including, like the 260 and some of these other ones. Honestly, it's so close. I'm splitting hairs trying to come up with a winner. This was very hard, and I didn't know until the end of the 4th part what I was going to go with. But I also actually spent quite a bit of time looking at ballistics and really doing some extra last-minute research before I made my decision. But it's not my favorite, but it is the best. It is the best, most balanced of all time. So the 7mm odd 8 is the winner. Thank you for watching this series. There'll be more series to come. This channel is mainly about introducing Jesus to people, Bible study, spiritual matters, but there are things that I like rifles and shooting and fishing, even retro video games, shockingly, that I do want to talk about occasionally, kind of one-off series. And I'm really thinking about having a sequel to this series called The Perfect Rifle, and I'm going to use the 7mm odd 8 cartridge in that perfect rifle. And then eventually I'll get to the perfect scope, and then the perfect round that I will hand load for that. And then maybe I'll sell all my guns off and just keep that one. Probably not. Thank you for watching. Take care.